Welcome to the Decode Podcast. We're here live at Apex 2026, and we are in the recording booth with a very special guest, Mr. Sean Patterson with CrossGen AI. And we are going to start off by talking all things AI, and not just the buzzword AI, but actually how it can be used and utilized within our businesses and how it's really changing how we do things. So welcome. Good to have you here.
Yeah. Good to be back this time. Second time.
In person this time, though, right?
In person.
In person.
Oh, that's true.
We did in person before?
No, because you did not invite me in 2025.
Brutal. So,
No.
Sean, you and Sean have worked together pretty extensively, and I know that.
Well, this is why I wanted to lead the podcast off. Because when I met him, I literally was like begging for work. Please, I need work. Work. And
everybody in the industry remembers.
Yeah, I did. I literally asked everyone. And John called me and he's like, hey, call this guy, see if he can help you out. And then, we got to talking, and then I showed you the program that I had built.
Yep.
Using ChatGPT 3.5, I think, back then. And back then, you were like, this is great and everything like that, but you should try Claude, or you should try this, or you should try that, right? And for image generation. And then we've just kind of evolved. When I've had something go up, I've reached out to him and I said, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? And today, you are kind of like, in my opinion, the top of the top for AI in our EMS PCB world, right? And you were invited today to speak on an Inselectros panel, I believe.
Yeah, twice, and then PCB East in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, I'm not sure, but PCB East, and I was the keynote at West as well.
And what was today's topic about? What were you doing?
So the headline is "Don't buy AI, learn AI," and that's the key thing, right? And what we talked about out there, and it's the concept of the journey you're going through, and now you guys are getting the bug, as I call it. Yeah. Are you in yet?
Not really.
All right, come on.
I'm in enough to have had to sit through his hour-long.
So you listen to it, and that's why. Yeah, totally. I get it. Like I say, I sort of can leave that first slide up, right, and talk to the entire thing, because it all comes back to that, is that in order to be leaders, one, of yourself, and leaders if you're a leader within a business as well, you have to learn how to do it. Nobody's doing it for you. It's like individual sport, right? The only person getting you across the line and track is your own 2 feet. Right. It's not a team sport to learn it, right? You cannot delegate the adoption of AI. And it's so critical to do that, because if not, you wind up in these situations. And what the talk was about is kind of looking at technology in the past and saying, oh, ERP, CRM, whatever technology system as a broad statement, even pieces of equipment, right? Though we tend to know a little bit more of our industry, we still tend to buy it, and then we throw it out on the floor and we say, people, go use this thing.
Yeah.
And you give them training. Maybe you give them training if they're lucky. If you're a good leader, you give them a little bit of training. But, statistically, I think you need to hear something 6 times for it to actually stick. Yeah. Right? That's why you go through these educational systems. And it's this notion that you got to do it yourself. You got to do the work. And what I really encourage people, and you guys are certainly feeling this, is once you really start to do it, it's kind of fun.
It is fun.
It is kind of fun, and it really hooks you. And
I might even say all-consuming is what I've witnessed.
That's the thing, too. I've asked him to take a break, because I know where he is.
Yeah.
And he's 6 days, 7 days a week. Sometimes he'll go in and he'll just, I'm coding 12 hours, 16-hour days. He's like bragging to me, and I'm like, just take a day off, because you can come back and get a little bit more creative. Because this whole thing is about how creative are you.
Yeah.
It's a limitless. I don't think people really understand how limitless the options are. Like, every word that's ever been spoken and ever been written is your possibility at this point.
Yeah.
I've been hearing about, I think, what was it? Last year we talked to Sean, and then I took part of the webinar for the Michigan chapter of the SMTA.
Yeah, we did that. Yeah.
And I think you do a great job of kind of like talking about, going through the journey, and start here, and then the kind of evolution that most people will go through. But still, the dots didn't really connect. Like how I felt like I needed to be doing it. I think most people that are in any kind of, leadership role within a business, like they don't dispute the fact that, like, okay, I need to be doing AI. But connecting the dots, like, what does that mean? How does that actually work within my business? And then once I kind of found a place where I felt like it was working, it was so exciting to see it
Well, what was
start to evolve.
What was your journey with anti-gravity? Like, so what made you want to go to the site, and what was your first prompt? And do you remember? Because the word Linux scared you. I remember when I said Linux and I said web server, I said local host. It scared him.
I had done a little bit with just trying to use kind of Gemini as a standalone, and then like app sheets and getting code and then plugging it into
the cut and paste deal. Yeah.
And it was frustrating to have to go back and forth and back and forth. So I think I read an article on my phone about this integrated development environment, and I'm like, okay, so it's all under one roof. That sounds cool. And I read about it on a Saturday, and by that Monday, by the end of the day that Monday, what had started as like, I'll just give it a try, like I had started fully developing an ERP. And I said it every day for like a week. Like I would come in and say, there was nothing that I thought of today that I wasn't able to turn into reality.
Yeah,
it's
insane. It's insane.
So it becomes addicting, right? Like, how do you walk away from?
You don't.
Well, obviously, after all your years as a software development person, right?
No, but I mean, I spent 20 years saying, man, I wish I could do this, or man, I wish I could do that, right? Like being on the front line, you see all the use cases, you just don't know how to build for that.
Right. It's a journey, right? And that's what we were talking about before this. In terms of this, don't buy AI, learn AI. So like company like myself and my employees, like we work with companies to teach everyone how to do the basics. We let people volunteer into the advanced. I would say I work with the leadership to impose the basics. Right? You're going to have to go through this training. It's not a one-day training. It's multiple days because you got to actually do these things. This is not like a little webinar, how to use Excel or whatever. It's, you do it and you do the homework and you got to share your homework next week. It's uncomfortable for some people, right?
Yeah.
But you start to share amongst each other, and the only way to actually use the stuff is to do it yourself. Yeah. Nobody else can do it for you because your own job can be accelerated, but it also, not now, but in the future, be more like, you could risk losing it, even if you're the CEO of a company, because things are going to get very flat organizationally. Because as you guys are starting to discover, there's not much value in that middle thing. It's you're kind of able to automate that in some ways, and so you really want to focus on adding value to your customers and increasing the human value add, which is generally face to face kind of stuff. And I do think that's the optimistic future. Is not the Terminator or humans using this for nefarious purposes, but more that like we're able to put the screens away and bring back connection.
And it's important that you say that though, because I don't know about. All right, I'll just say it. The middle tier, right? Actually, probably one of my best employees, and if I could free up the mundane tasks that they're doing and then reroute that energy, and I already know I'm making a profit keeping them employed.
Yeah.
Why not free up their mind, work from home, do whatever you got to do, but like the ability that they have for project managing, right, is wasted on buying components, shopping for components, and all this other things. So we're trying to automate that side of it. Yeah. So to free her up with more of these customer emails, where's my, how long, what's the expected date, how's the progress going on this, which we can just automate and automatically have.
You're looking up stuff. I mean, your customer isn't paying for that. Exactly. It's a necessary function of business that is now being able to take care of. And it's not to say you don't get rid. Like, first of all, I do not ever propose getting rid of employees.
Right.
I think, especially in this industry, in the United States in particular, and the small business world, you should get every single one of your employees, all of them, including the floor worker, to learn this stuff. And then the sky's the limit on the amount of scale, because overnight you have one of the most capable engineering teams in the United States, regardless of industry, by the way, because you're able to kind of do these other things.
I think, that's one thing. You mentioned small business, and I think when you look at any kind of novel technology or anything that comes out, initially it's really only available to kind of the larger companies who have all the resources and engineering teams and financial backing. But I'd argue that when it comes to AI within businesses, the small businesses is where, I mean, because now you can do things that you would have never been able to dream about doing.
And yours is what, $5 a day you're paying for yours?
It's like less than $1 a day.
Yeah. So it's like your best employee $1.
Right? Yeah. It's insane. The cost on it.
But you're totally right. So large businesses are going to struggle and do struggle, and I work with them, but it's a little bit of a, it's way more of a challenge because one, for the most part, they're trying to buy maybe they'll listen to me and say educate everybody, and then we'll start to it and maybe they'll listen, don't go buy the software thing that you think you need, let's understand it first. But for the most part, I think the level of honesty from ththose teams we're looking at to reduce headcount, and people will smell it a mile away. And so there is a sort of too big to adopt problem.
Yeah, smaller, you're more nimble and agile and can adopt it faster.
And you already have the cost structure that's the necessary one to actually be that large, with a much, with a better cost structure. And, we just went over this little device, maybe I'll share it online later, about like Internet of Things device that one of my employees who didn't know how to do any of this stuff, within 2 hours, went from no hardware experience whatsoever to a full IoT device that's sitting right in front of us.
Right.
That's plug and play for a new sensor. You put a new sensor in, it self-discovers because there's AI inside of it, but it's running, it's deterministically running.
And when you say new sensor, it could be a new species of sensor. Sensing something else.
You could build it yourself if you'd like as well.
Yeah.
And
for a couple $100 in a couple hours.
Yeah, exactly. And this hub is the couple $100 parts of the hub. The sensors are $5, $10, $20. But we set it up now where it's self-discovery, and you don't have all the SaaS costs on top of it because all these other guys are going to charge you for that. And they're charging because the entire employee base, you're paying for an engineering team to do this for you. Whereas I'm like, let me teach you guys how to be engineers, because the way to access knowledge and that value was already that your teams already have it. You already have the experts. Why are you going to go teach a sensor company that has no idea about your business, about what you need? Because you're going to spend all the time yapping to those guys about the thing you need. Right. Then they're going to go off and do it, and then they're going to give it to their software development team, and they're even farther away removed from talking to the customer. Yeah. Then they got budgetary constraints, all this stuff, and then they come back, and it's a problem. And by the way, the very first problem in that entire whisper down the lane effect of what actually gets implemented is actually ourselves who need the thing in what's in our mind's eye. To be able to articulate that in a manner that somebody else can absorb is problematic. But you can have that with AI on a much more personal basis.
Almost like what we were talking about earlier with prompting, where you said try to get it into one prompt.
Don't chat your AI.
Right? It's the same way of communicating what I need to that vendor, right?
Yeah.
If I could just communicate that. Right?
Yeah, it's like a self-feedback loop. You don't get to do that with humans.
Right.
And there's still very much humans part of this, right? When they talk about automation of tasks, there's this report that came out from Anthropic about last week, and then this guy named Andre Kaparthi did an analysis of AI jobs and what you could actually achieve versus what's happening right now. And it's pretty staggering on the white collar side. Like it's something like 90% of tasks are achievable to be automated today.
90%?
90% in most things. Business executives, finance, you name it. That does not mean that there's not a human using it to accomplish those tasks. And that's where people miss this thing. They think it's coming from my jobs. No. Shouldn't you be the first one to maybe just lean in? Just take a different perspective and say, you know what? I want to be a kid again. I want to learn it. And then you'll find out it's like playing with Legos, and that curiosity starts to come back. And that's when the dots start to connect even more, because now you're curious and you can't get out of your mind, and you're working till 1 a.m. on the thing.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about this, but I know the bug.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's happening. It's working.
Exactly, because your creativity as a human's coming back.
Yeah.
Like whether the educational system or whatever crushed it, or just working in a mundane corporate job or anything.
He sent a PO automatically from the floor right here through a system, automatically emailed the vendor, and then he could view it on his phone.
Yep.
Like right there, and he created this entire system.
Like
what, a week ago, right? Like maybe
I'm like 2 weeks in.
so like, and he's just getting started too, right?
Exactly.
Like it's amazing how everything can go through. It's sky's the limit.
What would you say to people that are hesitant or skeptical, or because I think there is certainly a group of people that are like AI bad,
a large group.
Yeah,
I think so. There's certainly look. There are good and bad to everything we do as humans, right? And there's bad scenarios that can arise from this, and every single bad scenario, by the way, that arises from this is a human using it to create the bad scenario.
Right.
So I wouldn't be worried about the Terminator coming before I worried about manipulation of populations through if you're all using the ChatGPTs and those kind of online systems, beware. It's a place to start. You start there. Over time, you get away from that.
You do.
Okay, and I call it the real AI. It's the same kind of stuff, the same principles. You got to get onto the other side of the wall on your own computer, sensor system completely 100% offline, though it's using AI, and you unplug from the internet. There are environmental concerns. I think there's some decent solutions like Elon pushing for going into space, but that can cause other problems, things called like the Dyson sphere or something like that, where all the satellites start colliding into each other. So there's things that can kind of go bad. I do think when I talk with people, and there's many bad things and there's just as many good things. You can cure cancer, but you can cause it, right? My thing is there's an inevitability issue right now. Is Pandora's box is open. So you're either going to lean in or lean out. And if you lean out, you're not going to like the level of compensation that you'll be able to provide for your family in the future. And if you lean in, probably going to have some fun. You'll probably understand it a lot more of what the actual real pitfalls are versus just listening to everybody else. Because most things that get posted online, you're either hype on the far end or the two ends of the sphere, right? The person that the new model comes out and they're like, oh, I'll sell it. And they haven't even used the model yet. If somebody's posting day one about that, do not listen to them, right? And then you got the negative side that are talking about the things we do need to be aware of, and it's not, we're not talking single-digit percentage of things that can go wrong. Okay, I do think we need to engage politically around these things and actually think about what we need to do. But even at that, how does China win on this stuff? You just open source it, which they already have, and they're only 6 months behind the Frontier Lab. So, so there's this inevitability of kind of leaning into that. But you do need to learn. I think more people that learn it and understand it, especially when we go to first principles, we teach how it kind of works. People start to understand that, okay, there's things it's not going to be able to do. Like, they'll understand that a little bit more, but you got to learn and you have to do it yourself and establish that. It's like when we do the education for people, because we talk about, we raise capability, we build capability into your team. And then as they start to solve the problems that they have day to day, we come in and accelerate them on that thing, as opposed to sitting as a software development company saying, tell me your problems, let me go solve them for you, I'm going to charge you an arm and a leg. I said, pay me to teach your guys. When they start solving it, I'm going to help accelerate them, and we just split the cost.
Right.
But you don't need to pay me more, because I'm not going to invest my own time and my team if I see that what they're working on, great, it's probably not great leverage, but other things make sense for us to accelerate. And if not, at the end of the day, you have this democratized problem solving throughout your entire network. We come from the place of how we all kind of learned, and we were talking a little bit about how I think about it, how we all kind of grew up, is the model of the atom for those that want to go a little sciencey. All the way back, I'm talking grade school. Most of us, when we were taught, learned about this little ball of an atom. And you could relate this to many other subjects. But somewhere along the lines in sixth grade, they say, oh, there's little sticky raisins or something on the atom. There's, we talk about the protons and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then eventually there's the electrons whirling around. And then eventually it's, oh, no, they're not just, there's a cloud. And then, no, they have the formation of a cloud. And then eventually there's fancier stuff you go into college if that's your choice. But we teach that in the way that humans discovered it over the course of time, because it's way easier to relate to go through that same process of scientific discovery to teach people. And that's what we do. We go through the exact same discovery that it took me 5 years to get to. From an application engineering point of view, I did some of the stuff in college, but didn't do for a while. It is that kind of human use and humanizing this whole thing so that you realize it's not this big scary thing and something you can actually leverage in the way you choose to leverage it or not. But if you're not sitting at the table and you're not leading yourself first and foremost, and then your team subsequently after that, you're doing yourself a disservice, because right now you have this whole chart of we're showing it in the booth when we presented. It's like a bunch of dots. Each one's like 3 million people in the world, and it's like, it's a massive grid of these things. And like the bottom 20% is how many people have used ChatGPT free, and then like the last 6 things of these 3 million are how many actually pay for it. Which, by the way, if you're using AI, please pay for it, or your data's going out there. So the red is the last one, and that's the only dot that exists. And the stuff that you guys are now doing, you're in the red dot. There's so much more to grow and expand on and to learn. And you guys are probably starting to get into the world a little bit. And I know you're doing dashboards and this whole other side to AI that you'll get to in time. But you're sort of starting in the area of if you know, you know.
Right.
And I think you're starting to see that now of, oh my gosh, what can I achieve with this? But also, my gosh, I need to start running fast in order to keep up. But you're already in the red, and so you already are at that level. You may not feel it because, especially as you engage more, you're like, oh my gosh, you're behind, you're not behind. you're the leaders. You're the first ones out there. You're not the ones that are, the threat of, you're going to be irrelevant. Lean into I don't want to be irrelevant. I'm not doing it from a fear. I'm doing it from a leadership. I want to lead in the industry. I want to lead my team through it. Take that mindset difference. It's just a small switch in your mind.
Yeah.
It is a human problem to not engage with this. Some level of, again, lack of curiosity that's been crushed through the various things. But if you're really leaning in, you have curiosity, systems thinking, that's a little harder. Curiosity, I think humans have, generally speaking. Bring it back. And we talk about that curiosity aspect. You need to find, and you guys are business owners, so I would say more like you care about some of the outcomes. You're more attached to that. All right. But let's talk about your employees, maybe not as much, okay? However, you need to find the thing in your life that you care about. I'll say technology, but it's about knowledge and technology. Find that everybody has a thing. Cooking, hiking,
I was thinking
golf,
smoking brisket.
Smoking briskets. And in that area of smoking briskets, you care about technology.
I have technology.
You have technology
included
around
into
it.
my smoking briskets.
Everyone, generally speaking, has that thing that they care about.
Sure.
Learn it from that perspective to drive it, because it's not a job. It's not being imposed on you to go do it there. But you know what? If you learned it there, the principles you learn are 100% transferable.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're that much farther off. And by the way, again, you'll start to have fun on the other side, because now you're getting rid of those bullshit reports that you didn't want to have to do and suck. And why do I have to do this stuff? And you're just gonna be like, hey, boss man, I'm here, done.
Yeah.
And you learned it from a totally different soap. And so it's a choice to find out where that is and try to help people on that aspect and, go on that journey with them, again, accelerate them. And then I kind of want our company to stay as that sort of, attached, CTO kind of fractional thing where we just advise you on the future of, hey, this new thing came out. We're kind of testing it. We're giving that time that takes, an entire job just to keep up with it. And we're advising you along the way on a much, more sustainable cost basis. But,
right.
At that point, you're scaled and your margins are that much better. So.
This has been an awesome conversation. I know that we could probably sit here and talk for probably the rest of the show.
Yeah.
I want to get into MCPs and agentic and all that other stuff. Yeah, right. Like I want to get into the deep stuff, but I want to say this before we close, and I'll let you do it. But if you're scared about using AI, go to Google Gemini, go to ChatGPT.com, and just type this. This is my job. This is my role. How would I use AI to make it go?
Sure.
And hit enter. And just see what happens.
I'm saying just take this podcast, take the transcription from whatever system you look at it, take this whole transcript, put it in the ChatGPT, and say, how can you help me do what they just talked about in this podcast? You don't have to describe it. Just cut and paste it. Get going that way.
So everybody who's listened can just do that.
Claude, by the way, not I say Claude, by the way, not ChatGPT.
Where can people find you? You're obviously
CrossGen-AI.com. I have a non-commercial side that's more for like executive training without the dash for local communities. Really try to work with small local businesses, small medium businesses, and particularly in this industry because I know it well to kind of point you in the right direction a little faster. But we do support everybody. We actually have more clients outside this industry than in it. So
awesome. Well, thank you very much for joining us, and appreciate all the tips. And I know that you've been a big motivator for me personally to get going on it. Sean has been telling me I need it for a long time, and I try not to listen to what he says, but I respect you, and, so thank you. Have a great show.